This is the first episode of the podcast, We Lead with Power, about feminist transformative leadership. We Lead, an inspiring, innovative, and powerful program aimed to improve the sexual and reproductive health and rights, SRHR, of young women in 9 countries: Lebanon, Jordan, Niger, Nigeria, Uganda, Kenya, Mozambique, Honduras, Guatemala. Just like the program, this podcast focuses on 4 specific groups of young women living with HIV, young women with disabilities, young LGBTI plus women, young women affected by displacement. The program put these young women rights holders in the driver's seat while supporting them to make sustainable changes for their rights. In 2025, before closing the program, We Lead published a final tool for these young women, a feminist leadership guide. This guide was developed by A01 with input from the young women that participated in the program, as well as with representatives of the consortium members, Hivos, Restless Development, Positive Vibes, the Central American Women's Fund, FCAM, the African Women's Development and Communication Network, FEMNET, MARSA Sexual Health Center, and local implementing partners. Respecting the privacy of the young women participants, we will use pseudonyms instead of their real names throughout this podcast. The first question we asked them was, "What is feminist leadership for you?" Erika from Central America responded,
Para mí el liderazgo feminista es no conformarse con la situación
"For
del
me,
mundo.
feminist leadership means not conforming to the state of the world. We are all feminist leaders because it's never easy to voice discomfort with our families, workplaces, or schools." Hayat from Niger added to this,
Pour moi, j'allais dire.
"It is a leadership approach based on the principles of feminism, equality, social justice, and power sharing."
L'égalité.
Luisa from Mozambique of an association of women living with HIV indicates that for her, being a feminist means being someone who is concerned and committed to the issue of social justice, of listening to others, and of caring.
Para mim, liderança feminista não se trata apenas de eu ocupar cargo de liderança.
For her, feminist leadership is not just about holding a leadership position. It's about transforming the power into an inclusive power. It's about women in all of their diversity amplifying the voices of other women.
Sua diversidade, ampliar as vozes dessas mulheres que nós sabemos que
Luisa continues by saying that history has shown that women have always been silenced and placed at a disadvantage. So for her, it is a daily exercise of fighting for her rights and the rights of other women.
pelos meus direitos e pelos direitos de outras mulheres, eu criar
It is about creating a safe space where women can feel comfortable expressing their ideas and perspectives. A space where women are not alone, but with their sisters by their side, knowing they can count on each other and that no one will be left behind. She finalizes by saying,
não deixo ninguém para trás. Então, é garantir que cada decisão que eu tomo como líder
"It's about making sure that every decision I make as a leader reflects a little bit of what is specific to each of them, so that the world is a fairer place." Alina from Central America says about this,
Este liderazgo reconoce la sororidad no solo como una práctica, sino como una forma de vida.
"Feminist leadership sees sisterhood not just as a practice, but as a way of life, an ethical and political bond between women that fuels collaboration, mutual support, and the collective fight against structural inequalities." Nyambura Gabumbi from Hivos and the coordinator of the We Lead program provided the following definition.
Feminist leadership is the kind of leadership that recognizes the imbalances and the unfair distribution of power, a kind of leadership that also understands what patriarchy is and how it manifests in different ways, and especially how it affects the lives of women, girls, and gender diverse people. So for you to be a feminist leader, you are expected to be able to understand those dynamics, those concepts, and to be able to apply an analysis in how you lead, in how you conceptualize things, so that then your leadership is able to address the injustices. It's able to take care of people who are discriminated and oppressed by the system. And it's also about being aware that you hold a certain power, and how you use that power really matters and impacts other people. So it's to be conscious of that and to make a decision on how you use that power, how you share it, how you distribute it among the people that you lead. It's also about accountability, being accountable for your decisions, for your actions, being accountable for the people you lead, being accountable for how you use power. It's about empathy and caring about other people. It's about solidarity and showing up for people who are facing difficulties or challenges. And it's also about creating safe spaces for other people to be able to, to have a better experience or an easier time, and especially people who are going through difficulties. So for me, to be a feminist leader, you have to be aware of all these issues, and you have to apply that analysis in your work. And it's also about being comfortable with being political, because we say feminism is about it's a political statement, and it's about also politicizing the rights of women and girls and the gender diverse people in a way that they get the attention that they deserve, the recognition that they deserve, the resources that they deserve.
When asked why feminist leadership is so important for them, Winnie from the Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria workshop says,
We discussed that it helps in amplifying voices within the community. It also helps in getting local networks to participate in discussions and air out issues that affect the community. We also said it creates room for shared voices towards solution creation. And so then we talked about how it provides a sense of ownership and participation in communities. We also believe that feminist leadership is also a way of garnering a sense of ownership within the community, ensuring that nobody feels left out. People are able to participate in issues that affect them or issues that affect their immediate communities.
Caroline from the same workshop mentions,
One is it challenges traditional hierarchies that often exclude or marginalized voices, especially women, girls, and gender diverse people. And then the second one is it also encourages leadership styles rooting in collaboration, empathy, and accountability, which are essential for building communities that are more just and representative. And then the other point is feminist leadership is also important because it makes the voiceless being understood through the feminist leadership. And then the second last is it creates advocacy opportunities for feminist leaders who are marginalized. And then the last one is it creates meaningful youth inclusivity across the globe.
Chapter 2 of the guide is about intersectionality and inclusive leadership. Alexa Maradiaga from the Central American Women's Fund says about this that it has been very interesting to work with 4 different groups of young women at the same time during the We Lead program.
Bueno, son 4 poblaciones que ha sido también una como conversación dentro del espacio de We Lead.
Many of their colleagues within the queer community spoke for the first time with colleagues with a disability. Alexa mentions that each have their own necessities, but it is key to support each other, not only as organizations facilitating a space, but as human beings.
Obviamente el día del reconocimiento específico de compañeras lesbianas, de compañeras trans, de compañeros trans, que también
This requires an inclusive communication, regardless of the use of sign language or knowing how to approach colleagues with a mobility or visual impairment. For some, it was the first time they addressed issues of displaced women or women with HIV, having conversations about forced sterilization and breastfeeding. Hearing about all these complexities makes you realize that there is an incredible need to truly have an intersectional approach, even in daily interactions with colleagues, to put the discourse of intersectional feminism into practice.
Y esa ha sido una discusión interesante como una población específica, pero también cuando ya lo ves a nivel de programa.
When asked how you can exercise collective power to make an impact with such diverse groups, FCAM colleague María Estelí responds.
Escuchando a la otra, fijándote más o poniéndote más atención.
By listening to the other person, paying more attention to common ground than to the differences, recognizing that the enemy is not ourselves, but the system that mistreats and oppresses us, and understanding what we can achieve, recognizing the other women as an ally rather than someone different. If you want to achieve transformation, you have to listen to and show solidarity with the other women.
Y esa es la forma de construir poder. O sea, si vos querés lograr transformaciones, tenés que hacerlo así.
Java, from the workshop with Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, expresses this in a more emotional way.
As a young feminist, I feel like, as in, my heart is crying out, like to speak for those who are voiceless in the community.
When asked what opportunities there are for young women to take up feminist leadership roles in their country, Grace from the same workshop mentions,
there are many opportunities for young women and other diverse youth to take up like feminist positions in my country. First of all, we have some feminist, like those organizations in the civil society, which are known to be feminist-led, and they operate on feminist values like Akina, Mama wa Africa, MenPro, that's mentoring and empowering young women. So these organizations normally hold capacity building workshops, like whereby they bring like those feminist change agents who take like the participants through feminist values and principles. There is a feminist leader called Sylvia Tamale, who's really good in sexuality. She teaches, like she brings about the dynamics very well in her trainings. So apart from that, these organizations also have like positions of leadership, like where they can send calls and you apply to volunteer and just see maybe like how, you know, work is like in the civil space.
Aisha adds to this.
First of all, I believe in mentorship. For me to be in this space is because someone mentored me. And the fact that there is intergenerational mentorship where the older women can mentor other or those in leadership, the older one can mentor others. It should not be like a competition, but mentoring so that we can learn from them and they can learn from us. Because things are changing, technology is there, but if they learn from us and also we learn from them, then we are able to have a leadership where we can all progress in this. So I'm giving an example. I was able to attend CSW when it was in Cameroon. And we had some of the women who are 62 years old, and the youngest one was like 18 years old. So we were just trying to compare what they know and their leadership skills compared to what we have. And it shows that all of us have a common goal, and that is to advance gender equality, but we may be doing it in different way, and we are supposed to appreciate each other.
Maria from Central America, however, has a different experience, saying that there is little intergenerational political dialogue within the women's and feminist movement.
Hay muy pocas diálogo político intergeneracional. Yo creo
In
que a
her
veces
opinion, feminist women's organizations are doing little to create spaces for young women. Young feminists are seen as a threat because they have a level of radicalism and rebelliousness, raising issues that haven't necessarily been explored in depth within the feminist movement and that represent existing tensions.
y que son tensiones que hay, por ejemplo, la cuestión del aborto, cuestiones de derechos sexuales y reproductivos.
For example, the issue of abortion, sexual and reproductive health and rights, transformation and emancipation. Maria recommends to engage in self-criticism and address this adult-centrism. In this regard, the feminist leadership principle of collaborative decision-making and power-sharing is key. Chapter 3 of the guide is all about this. When asked what feminist power means and how can it be built and maintained, Ayana from Niger responds.
Pour nous, le pouvoir féministe, c'est donner la chance aux femmes de s'affirmer.
Feminist power is collective, transformative, and emancipatory. It is not exercised over others, but with others. It is based on justice, solidarity, respect for diversity, and the questioning of systems of oppression, such as patriarchy, colonialism, and capitalism. It aims to replace relations of domination with more egalitarian and humane relationships. This power is built through inclusive and non-judgmental awareness. The empowerment of women through equitable redistribution of roles and promotion of equal opportunities.
Par aussi la création d'espaces sûrs.
It is maintained through concrete actions such as awareness raising, valuing women's achievements, and creating safe spaces where every woman can express herself freely and make decisions for herself. Tabitha, from the group of women with disabilities that worked together at the Kenya-Uganda-Nigeria workshop, responds the following when asked, "What does feminist power mean to you?"
It means to create equity in the society and also to show empathy towards persons, no matter their disabilities, their level of their status, their level of livelihood, whatever they are, persons in the IDP camps in different locations. So it means being able to have a good heart towards them, and also to make everyone to be inclusive in every areas of their lives, and also to empower persons who are marginalized, and also to create awareness that that feminist, she feels to her, feminist is about creating awareness about things that are not spoken of, things that the governments are not even talking about. So they bring them to limelight and talk about it and champion the cause for this.
Anna from Central America adds that political and social processes allow young women to write a new history when working together.
Por procesos políticos y sociales que permitan escribir una nueva historia, se logra de manera colectiva.
This is about the strength of women seeking a common goal, fighting for change. Collective power is a more inclusive perspective regarding decision-making. This power is achieved by understanding that feminist power must move through different leaderships.
Al entender que el poder feminista tiene que transitar en los diferentes liderazgos.
Dorcas Moachi from Hivos summarizes well the different types of power, putting them into the perspective of the We Lead program by saying,
for me, I would say in terms of feminism, when it comes to We Lead, the power that we are really trying to emphasize is the power within. So as a feminist, we do know that most of the time, the reason as to why we are fighting, the fight that we are fighting is because of the power over, whereby men sit down and decide what we need to do with our bodies. And now, since we already know the repercussions of the power over, so we are now teaching young feminists to know the power that they have. So the power within, the kind of power that they can do, they have individual power, so more of like self-reflection. And then once we really emphasize on power within, that's when we come together now, understand the power with. We come together with our power within, since now we are strong, we understand our rights and we know what to do. So we come together now, use our power with, and we join our powers. And now with the last one, which I understand is where we are in the WeLead program, which is the action phase, the power to. So with our collective power, what can we do? For instance, within feminist guidelines, once it comes out, it can help to guide other people get to understand what feminism is exactly, and demystify some of those myths. And that is what we are going to, when it comes to our guide, it's going to really help us with the power to. And together, here it's power with. We're trying to fight power over. So our emphasis is in with all the powers, since we already know what power over has done to us. And that is the only power that we as feminists do not encourage to use, but try to work around it and bring the people who have power over us, win them as our allies.
These types of power that are all about sharing power and finding power within yourself require respect for each other, empathy, and taking care of others as well as yourself. Chapter 4 of the guide is about this. Kaylee Forrest from WeLead partner organization Positive Vibes says about this.
At PV, we're relooking at our well-being, the way we see well-being as an organization and all of that. I think for me, it's self-care, collective care, lost its critical edge somewhere along the way, and it became about everyone, the softer things, which are important, helping people learn mindfulness exercises, incorporating breathing exercises, nature, play, all of these things. But I often find that those still become kind of side things, and they're not done in the kind of radical, strategic way that I think the concept of care, when it was written about in kind of feminist writing, it was seeing care as something radical. It wasn't seeing care as, oh, let's just have some extra nicey things at the beginning of a meeting and that's it. It's about, yes, have those things, important, but it's also about how, when within the constructs of that meeting itself, how do we maintain care? Recognizing that the way that decisions are made, the way that that organizations are run, the way that development work happens has been devoid of this thing called care and has been designed that way. So how do we bring it in as a political act? And within an organization, I can speak about PV, it means not just about, having team building day or whatever, which is also important. But it's also about, talking to people about, basic conditions of employment. It's also about, structuring the pacing of people's work and the expectations. It's about, as leadership and management, when a decision goes against productivity. So in other words, these people can be made to be more productive, or I want these people to stay healthy, that you make the decision about, I want them to stay healthy over them being productive, over them doing things for you, for the organization, for the donors, for whoever. And I think when it's a difficult decision, that's when you see really that people are committed to care.
Sarah Abuzaki from partner organization Marsa talks about well-being in terms of the sustainability of an organization.
Previously, what used to be used against women in leadership, like, oh, they're so sensitive, oh, they think with their hearts. I like to show that being empathetic is actually a strong suit, and that it fosters more collaborative environments within organizations, which leads to more impactful work. I would like to show that these things that were considered wrong, it's not. So before, women used to feel that they need to not be empathetic so that they can excel in their job or achieve a management or leadership position. I like to think that now we have made the case that no, feminist leadership includes being empathetic, it includes being understanding, it includes space for people to talk about their mental health, and that helps actually, because in terms of priorities, of course, success of an organization is a priority, but the well-being of staff and team members is also a priority. I think it's a measure of success. So we really have to change what we consider to be success, in addition to the sustainability of the organization.
A group of young women leaders from the Middle East, North Africa region shares a good practice regarding welfare and psychological support for volunteers working with the young women rights holders, developed from their perspective. This is especially important due to the recent political development in the MENA region, especially in Lebanon. They explain in Arabic with an English translator.
Collective sessions were held for all employers' representatives, and this is by means of the retreat sessions, in addition to yoga and recreational activities that would reinforce the importance of focusing on the psychological support to all the persons who are volunteering, who participated, all the members of the labor community. How did the participation take place? Similarly to Jordan, we had an expert assess the work, and then we've had sessions enabling us to use different entities, and in collaboration of all this, or with all this, we've had the individual psychological support and mental support sessions that were held. We've had as well a series of discussions taking place within the peace and security workshops. We agreed with the public opinion that mental support is very important, especially after the war on Lebanon. This is, of course, a good experience, a good practice for us, since it has become a good practice now that we have been sure that it has made a difference in the life of the beneficiaries.
Sally Nube, one of the A01 consultants, sums it all up by saying,
with feminist leadership, it's a life cycle, it's a lifetime practice and culture, because as we grow in different generations, the thinking of We Lead program is looking into, when we look at the leaders that the program have touched now, they are also emerging leaders, or those leaders that have been trained that now have an interest or an appetite for a bigger, higher leadership opportunity, sometimes even outside their previous roles, because they now have more confidence, or the community now recognize them, they are growing. And as each generation moves, global context, national context shifts, you are so right that when we talk feminist leadership, it's not static. It evolves, and we also evolve as people in terms of some of the things that matters to us. So we are always work in progress.
This was the first episode of the podcast, We Lead with Power. If you want to hear more about feminist transformative leadership, you can listen to the second and last episode. You can also browse through the guide that goes with this podcast. If you like what you heard and read, please share this podcast and the guide on your platform. You can also share feedback and follow the We Lead partners under socials. We wish you all the best in your own leadership journey and in supporting other young women leaders all over the world.